Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining today's webinar for Racial Equity 2030. My name is Talia Gibbous, Program Officer with Common Pool, the agency that is supporting Lever for Change and the W.K. Kellogg Foundation for this challenge. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and will be available on the News and Updates page of the challenge website, racialequity2030.org, later on this week. We will also email it to those who have already registered for the challenge. We have reserved the majority of our time over the next hour for your questions. In just a moment, we will watch a brief welcome video from Lejeune Montgomery Tabron, President and CEO of the W.K. Kellogg Foundation. Then, Lever for Change will further welcome you and provide an overview of Racial Equity 2030. I'll then do a quick walkthrough of the challenge website, and then my colleague Jenny Adams will help open it up for questions. As your questions come up, please type them into the Q&A tab and we'll answer as many as we can within our allotted time. Also, members of our team will be typing responses to your questions in the Q&A tab throughout the Q&A portion of the webinar. Before we move on, some very important dates to keep in mind. First and foremost, the deadline to register for Racial Equity 2030 is Thursday, January 28th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Please note that you must register in order to submit an application. We also have a second pre-registration webinar scheduled for Thursday, January 7th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. The content for that webinar will be very similar as for this one, and again, we will reserve the bulk of your time for questions. If you know of people who were unable to attend this session, you can either direct them to watch the recording or to sign up for that January session. A link to sign up is on the News and Updates page. We are also planning 2 pre-application webinars in early February. Those sign-up links will be shared with all registered applicants shortly after the registration deadline. If you have questions after today's session, you can always reach us at questions@racialequity2030.org. And now I'm very pleased to virtually turn things over to Lejeune Montgomery Tabron, President and CEO of the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, who will welcome you via video.
Hello, I'm Lejeune Montgomery Tabron, and on behalf of the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, I announce to you Racial Equity 2030, a global challenge to drive transformative change. At the Kellogg Foundation, we know that change happens through people and their collective action. That's why we're awarding $90 million to fuel creative and actionable solutions to achieve racial equity in the next decade. We are launching this challenge in honor of our organization's 90th anniversary, but the spirit of it comes from our founder, Will Keith Kellogg. Mr. Kellogg believed in people and their ability to come together, reimagine, and create better futures for their children. He wanted children to face the future with confidence, and he was willing to stake his fortune to pursue that vision, even in the midst of a global crisis. In 1930, his bold action created the W.K. Kellogg Foundation. As we look toward the next decade, Racial Equity 2030 is our call to others in the spirit of our founder. Children are at the heart of all we do at the Kellogg Foundation. But for children to thrive, their families need to be able to provide for them, and their communities need to be equitable places of opportunity. The stark inequities we see today show how much farther we need to travel to advance racial equity so all children and their families and communities can thrive. If you feel the urgency of this time, Racial Equity 2030 is your opportunity. We invite teams of bold visionaries and community leaders from every sector to join this global challenge. Let's reimagine and build a future where racial equity is realized.
And with that, I am pleased to turn things over to Jenna Shornack, Awards Director at Lever for Change.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jenna Shornack. I'm an Awards Director at Lever for Change. LFC is an affiliate of the MacArthur Foundation, and our mission is to unlock significant philanthropic capital and help accelerate positive social change around the world's biggest challenges. We do this through challenges like Racial Equity 2030 and our Bold Solutions Network, a searchable database containing top vetted proposals from all of our challenges. We are thrilled to be working with the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, and we are especially excited about Racial Equity 2030 because up to 10 finalists will be identified and receive $1 million planning grants, along with 9 months of capacity building support to further develop their project and strengthen their application. Final awardees will be selected from that pool of finalists, and at least 3 awardees will receive grants of $20 million each, and at least 2 awardees will receive grants of $10 million each. Today, I will speak briefly about the scoring criteria to help you understand what we think makes a strong proposal. Please note that the application is up on the Racial Equity 2030 website right now, and you can begin working on it as soon as you register. I also encourage you to please assess your fit for the challenge by filling out the organizational readiness tool on the website. The scoring rubric also lives on the website. It outlines the criteria upon which your proposal will be evaluated by peer applicants in peer-to-peer review, and the same rubric will be used by the evaluation panel should you make it to that stage. There are 4 equally weighted criteria, each with a score of 1 through 5. The first scoring category is game-changing. We'd like to see solutions that are intentionally designed to transform policies, processes, institutions, or power structures. Your solution should be rooted in a deep understanding of conditions and systems and identify key leverage points for changing those systems. Solutions may tackle the social, economic, political, or institutional inequities we see today. The second category is about equity. Your proposal should address the root of racialized outcomes and inequitable systems. The solution and approach should be asset-based and acknowledge historical inequities. We'd like to see impacted communities in decision-making positions taking the lead on defining success for the project. And although the term racial equity has specific connotations within the United States, in a global context, we believe a racially equitable society is one in which neither race nor ethnicity determines opportunity and life outcomes. It is a society where all groups have the ability to participate, prosper, and reach their full potential. Depending on local conditions, barriers to that vision may be rooted in perceived racial difference and/or in oppression tied to ethnicity, caste, or economic injustice. I encourage you to read more about this on the FAQs on the website. The next category is bold, meaning the proposed solution reimagines possibilities through its approach or solution. The proposal should create sustained conditions in which children, families, and communities can thrive. We hope this challenge is an opportunity to take risks, build, innovate, and explore possibilities over the next decade. And that brings us to the final criteria, actionable. This is really about your team, your plan for implementation, and financial planning. We want to see you are well positioned to meet your goals. Please note that early to mid-stage ideas are welcome, as well as partnerships between teams. I encourage you to check out the scoring rubric on the website for more details. But now I will hand it back to Talia from Common Pool to explain in more detail the application, eligibility, and other aspects of Racial Equity 2030.
Thank you, Jenna, and thanks again to everyone who is with us today. So as Jenna mentioned, your first step to determine whether or not you are a good fit for this opportunity is the organizational readiness tool, which you can access from the main drop-down menu of the website. The tool walks you through a number of questions to determine eligibility for Racial Equity 2030. This challenge is open to organizations of all sizes and all types from anywhere in the world. All proposed projects must have a charitable purpose. Proposed ideas must embrace and reflect the values of racial equity and justice, They must be led by a team that centers on lived experience and includes communities closest to the issues as part of leadership in the project. Teams must also have the capacity to complete applications in English and review and score peer review submissions in English. Please note that individuals are not eligible to apply for Racial Equity 2030. If you answer yes to each question on the organizational readiness tool, we encourage you to complete the registration process. Registration is required in order for you to submit an application, and it is very simple. You can go to the upper right-hand corner of any page on the website and click on the button that counts down the number of days to register. You will then be instructed to create and confirm your account. After, you will be prompted to submit basic information about your organization so we can better understand our registrant community. Please note that you will not receive email confirmation of your registration. If you are able to access the online application and the forums on the platform, that means that you have registered properly for Racial Equity 2030. I now just want to walk through a few additional items available on the website. All of our challenges are rooted in the values of openness, transparency, and fairness. We want to be sure that everyone who registers and applies for this opportunity knows exactly what we expect from them, when and how they're going to be scored, and who will be evaluating their solutions. The website is built as an instructional guide to understanding that process. There are two really great places to start to better understand what Racial Equity 2030 is looking for. Jenna talked about the scoring rubric already, and another great resource is the Racial Equity 2030 application. The full text of the application is available for any visitor to this site. You do not have to register in order to see it. You can see all of the questions, prompts, requirements, and word count limits on that application page. It has several sections, and you are encouraged to read over all of them so that you have a good grasp of what is required in order to submit an application. Once you've done that, you should have a very good sense of what you'll need to do to apply. The next question is how your application will be evaluated, which brings us back to the scoring rubric. Jenna talked about this at length, so I won't say much more other than to reiterate that the site provides prompts that details what each of the 4 traits mean in this context, and each trait will be given a score between 0 and 5. You can toggle back and forth between the scoring ranges for any of the traits, and a phrase will appear to further detail what a low and high score means for Racial Equity 2030. This rubric really defines what makes a strong proposal. It is also the same tool that peer-to-peer and expert review panel judges will be using to score their assigned applications. And that brings us to the scoring process, which you can read more about on the evaluation page of the website. So following the application deadline, all eligible submissions will move first into peer-to-peer review. Each lead applicant will score and comment on 5 applications from other organizations using the same scoring rubric. All applicants must participate in peer-to-peer review, reviewing and scoring 5 other applications in order to remain eligible for this opportunity. Once peer review is complete, a subset of top scoring applications will move forward to the next phase, which is the expert review panel. You will see the list of confirmed expert review panel members on our website. Not only will you receive scores on your application from 5 of these individuals, but you'll also get feedback. In addition to the numeric scores, peer reviewers and expert review panel judges are required to provide comments to justify each score and note their overall impression of each application. We often find that this feedback is one of the most important aspects of participating in our challenges. Even if you are not selected as a finalist or awarded a grant, you will walk away with valuable feedback that you can then use to refine your solutions and perhaps seek other funding or expanded support. So another common question we receive is, with so many people participating in peer review and the expert review panel, what do we do to ensure that that process is fair? To address that question, we have a web page that is dedicated specifically to explaining how we normalize scores. So you'll recall that I mentioned each application will first be scored by 5 fellow applicants, and then a subset will then be scored by 5 members of the expert review panel. What this means is that not every applicant and not every judge will be able to look at every application. We make sure that you're not disadvantaged if by chance you were assigned to a hard grader and another applicant was reviewed by someone who tends to be a little bit more lenient. In brief, all scores are rescaled and normalized. And if you go to the page titled Level Playing Field on the website, you can read a lot more about how this works. There's a few other features on the website I'd quickly like to point out before we move into your questions. The first is the rules page. And on that page, you can read about the legal stipulations on teams that govern your participation, more about the eligibility criteria, as well as the detailed terms and conditions required of all participating teams. And finally, we have a timeline page that details each phase of this challenge. As you've heard us mention several times, registration is required and must be completed by Thursday, January 28th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time in order for you to be able to submit the proposal. And that submission deadline is Thursday, February 25th, also at 5 p.m. Eastern. Peer-to-peer review will follow over a period of several weeks in early spring. And please note that the reviews will happen independently during that time, and applicants will use our online scoring platform to comment on their assigned applications. And the timeline goes on to list other key dates and timeframes related to the challenge. And I'll also note that the website includes some other helpful areas like the news and updates page and a series of frequently asked questions on the homepage. So we do encourage you to read over all of that information if you have not already. And with that, we are now ready to move into the Q&A portion of the webinar. So please continue to add your questions to the Q&A tab, and we'll get to as many as we can during the time we have. Please note that to ensure fairness, we are not able to provide guidance specific to your proposed solution. So we encourage you to take the organizational readiness tool and review the pages of the website to help determine if you are a strong fit. And with that, I'm pleased to welcome my colleague, Jenny Adams, who will help get some of your questions answered.
Great, thank you, Talia. As Talia mentioned, we will get through as many questions as we can in about the next 40 minutes. Each question I read aloud will be answered verbally by one of my colleagues, and we will go ahead and get started. First question, are joint proposals permitted? Yes, I can take this one. Joint proposals are permitted, but there must be one lead applicant with the other collaborators listed as partners on the application. And the lead applicant must be the applicant that submits the application and should be the organization that is responsible for receiving and taking accountability of any grant funds, as well as providing the direction, control, and supervision of the project. Great, thank you. Next question. May organizations submit more than one application for consideration, or must we choose one team?
This is Talia. You'll note on the rules page, it says that regional or location-specific branches of larger organizations, as well as departments, schools, and nonprofits within or based in a college or university can each register and submit an entry separately as an applicant, as long as the proposed solutions are different and separate. There should be no overlap in team members. So in other words, yes, an organization may submit more than one application, but those solutions have to be distinct and the teams also have to be distinct. We'll also note that the challenge sponsor really encourages each applicant to select a single project that best represents its ability to deliver the solution that best meets the scoring criteria.
Great, next question. The rules prohibit funding for government services. Does that mean government agencies are not eligible to participate? I can take this one. So government agencies may still apply and participate if their proposed solution they are involved with focuses on a charitable or educational purpose, meaning that it would not fall within existing services covered by tax revenues. Next question. The W.K. Kellogg Foundation currently focuses its funding in certain countries, including Haiti and Mexico. May organizations outside of these countries apply?
Yes, this is a question we've gotten via email several times. Yes, this challenge is open to teams from anywhere in the world. There is no priority given to certain geographic regions. The aim is really to find solutions that best meet the criteria laid out in the scoring rubric. So we'll once again encourage you to take a look at that rubric and read it over very, very carefully.
Next question. Can an organization be both a lead team on a proposal and then a supporting team member on a separate proposal?
Yes, it is fine to submit one application as the lead and then also serve as a partner on a proposal with another lead applicant. We'll just reiterate once again that you need to be sure that the two solutions are distinct and have different team members.
Thank you. Next is similar question. Can an organization submit more than one application? Should a university submit one application per system, or can different campuses submit applications?
This is Talia again. Yes, just to reiterate, you can submit more than one application, and particular for universities, different campuses can submit applications, different applications. I'll note that you do need one unique registration for each application that is submitted. And again, please be sure those solutions are distinct and that the team members are distinct as well.
Next question. Is there a preference for location-based projects that may be scaled up versus national impact projects? This is Jenna. There's no preference between location-based projects versus national impact projects. However, referring back to the scoring rubric, the project should be game-changing and create sustained conditions in which children, families, and the community in which whatever you've decided to focus your project can thrive. Next question. This competition seems to highlight social and institutional change as a top priority. However, in addition to being an agent of change, I am a researcher. I wonder to what extent is a strong research plan for assessing the impact of the proposed strategy for racial equity important in this competition? That's a great question. So we imagine each team, depending on what stage of the competition they get to, will define their research and measurement strategies for the impact of their own proposed solution. And so we are hoping that that will be defined by the teams themselves. Great, next question. What are typical or allowable capacity building activities and expenses? For university applicants, how much student support is considered reasonable? Is there a percentage that might raise a red flag? Would direct grants to Black families be allowed if linked to intervention and theory of change?
This is Talia. I can start, and then Jenna, feel free to jump in. So if you take a look at the resource requirement section of the application, you'll note that there are some guidelines already listed there. And in particular, in relation to this question, I want to point people to the indirect cost policy for this challenge, which outlines exactly what is reasonable, what the thresholds are for indirect versus direct costs. And you'll note that what is defined in indirect versus direct cost will be different for each submission and really depends on the proposed solution. So in regards to the question about university applicants, that would again depend on the proposed solution. I will note, however, that direct grants to individuals for scholarships or for tuition subsidy is not allowed per the rules, but stipends and other forms of support are allowed. So if you have any questions about that, you can follow up with us via email. And then, Jenna, did you have anything you wanted to add there?
Nope, I think you covered it. Great, thank you. Next question. Can we partner with local government agencies, and could these agencies receive funding through this opportunity?
This is Talia again. Yes, you can partner with local government agencies. They can participate if the proposed solution they are involved with is focused on charitable and educational purposes. So you just want to be sure that the project itself is not falling within existing services that are covered by tax revenues.
Next question. The RFP is quite broad in interest area and scope. Are there specific areas of focus that are of special interest to the Kellogg Foundation? Likewise, is it safe to assume the interest areas align with the focus areas of the Kellogg Foundation's current grant-making programs?
Great question. In comparison to other WK Kellogg programs, the Racial Equity 2030 support is much broader in size and length of commitment, and it's focused on innovation. So it does not need to align with the WK Kellogg program unless it's been outlined on the website. For example, their commitment to equity carries across all of their programming. We should also say that organizations currently receiving funding from the WK Kellogg Foundation are allowed to apply, but we do encourage you to submit a proposal that does not overlap with any projects that are currently funded by WK Kellogg Foundation.
Next question. We would like more details on requirements and reporting expectations if funded.
Great question. So if you are named a finalist or an awardee, you will work closely with Lever for Change and the WK Kellogg Foundation to determine appropriate reporting and an appropriate grant disbursement period. So usually this means meeting some key milestones in the grant period and occasional reporting. But we would work closely with you to define what those are.
Next question, what is the expected duration of the proposed projects? Would the implementation period be 2022 through 2030?
This is Talia. So the expected duration is 10 years. When you look at the budget and the narrative on the application, you will be asked to submit a solution that covers a 10-year time period. And then yes, the grants will also be paid out through 2030.
Great, thank you. Next question, a little long, so I'll read the whole thing. We would like to understand the expectation for measurable outcomes in 10 years. These are large sums, but it is not realistic to achieve racial equity in 10 years versus hundreds of years of harm to reverse. Are you shooting for projects that bite off one needle to tangibly move, or projects that go for aspirational change, even if they are not as easy to measure in black and white?
Great question. So of course, we do not expect you to achieve racial equity within 10 years through your project, but we do expect progress based on the area of work that you define. So we would very much look to you and your community to identify the systems, policies, processes, institutions, or power structures that you will be working to change. And we are really looking for you to identify those key leverage points for transformative change, whether that is through measurable black and white outcomes or something more complex. We would be looking to you to define that.
Great, thank you. Next question, what are some examples of proposed projects?
So at this time, we try not to give you examples of proposed projects, but we would encourage you to look at the scoring rubric to see what we think might be in a strong proposal. But we really are looking for you all to define what the actual projects are.
Next question, would it be possible to provide more insight on capacity funds? What are the guidelines for these funds?
Great question. So usually these are general operating funds to support your work during this capacity building period. They can be used to strengthen your organization, to do more strategic work, to experiment or test some of your assumptions, and really just support you organizationally to prepare to intake a large amount of grant funding should you become an awardee.
Next question. In that public health policies are determined by state legislatures, are we allowed to include legislation in our proposed project?
So this opportunity welcomes activities that lead to systemic public policy changes. However, the project may not include lobbying activities, and we define what we consider lobbying activities on the website. So we encourage you to look at the rules about lobbying.
Next question. In looking at Kellogg's historical giving, most projects funded have been in the United States. How will internationally based projects be viewed in comparison with US-based projects?
This is Talia. So as I mentioned earlier, there is no preference for one geographic region or the other. All applications will be evaluated using the same scoring rubric. I will note that we recognize that the term racial equity has specific connotations within the United States. And in a global context, this challenge seeks to advance equity within hierarchies, structures, policies, systems, and practices of dehumanization that perpetuate disparities for racial and ethnic groups in a local context. So that is something to keep in mind for those of you who are outside of the United States.
Great, next question is somewhat related. Haiti is a priority country of the Kellogg Foundation. Is it also a priority for this context? If yes, what is your understanding regarding racial equity in a context such as Haiti?
Another great question. So Haitian projects are of course welcome to apply. No geographic area is prioritized over others, but we hope to receive a lot of projects from Haiti. And regarding racial equity in that context, depending on local conditions, we know that barriers to what we consider racial equity might be rooted in perceived racial difference or oppression tied to ethnicity, caste, or economic injustice.
Next question. How should the adapted funding amount be determined, considering that you aim at funding in very diverse sizes of projects, 1 to 20 million US dollars?
Great question. So in the application, we ask everyone to submit a proposal for a project that will receive $20 million, and then 10 finalists will receive $1 million each to participate in the capacity building period and be considered as a final awardee. And then we will work with each of the 5 awardees who receive either $20 million or $10 million to implement that $20 million project that they've proposed, or scale it down to a $10 million level. But that's what will be happening during that 9-month capacity building period.
Next question. How far down the line do you need to be as an organization? Does the organization need to be a high-profile, large organization?
So one of the WK Kellogg Foundation's goals in creating this challenge is to ensure that it's open to organizations that are not necessarily established or well known within philanthropic circles. So if you have an idea that meets the criteria laid out in the scoring rubric and you filled out the organizational readiness tool, we really hope that you consider participating. You should note that one of the scoring criteria is actionable, and that specifically speaks to questions about capacity to implement the project. And depending on what you have in mind, you might also want to consider partnering with other organizations on your proposal.
Next question. Given the planning year, should applicants detail an approach that spans the full 10 years, or is that kind of detail reserved for the planning year?
Great question. So we really want the budget and the application to be fairly high level. So we will leave it to you how much exact detail you want to break apart by year, or just have a general budget across the entire grant period. You should have enough information in there that peer reviewers and expert reviewers can assess your actionability of the project, but that is something that would definitely be worked on during the capacity building period, and you would have a lot more time to really refine the details and take it further.
Next question, is there an opportunity for registered applicants to potentially partner on proposed projects?
This is Talia. Yes, so once you register for Racial Equity 2030, you will have access to a registrant-only forum where you are welcome to post messages if you are specifically seeking to partner with someone else. We hope that you will take advantage of that.
Next question, what are the expectations regarding how a lead applicant demonstrates the capacity to steward funds? If a lead applicant is a newer nonprofit without an external audit, but has local technical assistance and partnership with high capacity organizations, would this provide sufficient evidence of capacity?
Another great question. Without speaking specifically to your exact organization situation, I can refer you back to the actionability criteria in the scoring rubric. And really what we mean by that is if your team has the skills and the capacity and knowledge or lived experience to implement the strategy, and if you've outlined a plan to acquire the skills or acquire strategic partners, and that your plan is realistic, those are all indicators to us that your plan is actionable. But again, we do not expect you to be an established nonprofit or have external audits, but really just that it's realistic and you have the right people in place to make it happen.
Next question. How will you compare competitiveness of achieving deep transformation in a limited geography, such as one city or community, versus a policy change that will impact more people across a region or national level?
That's a great question. We are really looking for bold ideas and transformative change depending on the scale of your project. So again, that could be in a smaller context and really transformative for the people that you've defined as your community and your stakeholders, or it could be something that's more widespread. But again, going back to the scoring rubric, we are looking for bold and game-changing solutions.
Next question. You seem to look for strong community leadership, but provide high amounts of funding. What do you expect in terms of organizational systems and characteristics, apart from what the readiness tool clarifies, such as type of organization and partnerships? So what types of organizational systems and characteristics in order to fund an initiative?
Great question. So we are confident that community leaders are able to manage high amounts of funding, and we would work with each team during that capacity building period to really define what they need to absorb that amount of funding to implement their solution. So we would be working across various portions of your organization to get you ready to scale.
Next question. The website highlights 3 things you are trying to achieve: close the income gap by 2050, structural and institutional inequalities that keep children out of school that you are trying to achieve impact in income equality by 2030, and quality, secure housing for 0 to 17-year-olds. Are there other area projects can focus on impact?
I can take this one. So I'm happy to clarify that those are just examples of rationale for why we are doing this project, but we are really open to areas, all types of different areas and different places that you can have impact. So those are just examples, but they are not the 3 defined areas that we are working on.
Next question. Given that funding is paid out over 9 years, are equal amounts paid out each year, or can the amount vary per year?
Again, we would have you work with the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, should you be selected as an awardee, to define your grant payout disbursement plan and what makes sense for your project and your organization and for the W.K. Kellogg Foundation. So we would work that out in that grant agreement period.
Next question, can you please define charitable purpose? I read that for-profit organizations can apply if the funds would be used for a charitable purpose, but I'm unclear in how that would be defined for a for-profit company. So Racial Equity 2030 is open to organizations of all types, including for-profit entities. However, those organizations must demonstrate their proposed solutions are in line with general philanthropic guidelines, including that they have a charitable purpose defined by the IRS. This term charitable is used in generally accepted legal sense that includes relief of the poor, the distressed, or the underprivileged, and some other definitions. And we can follow up with the exact definition on the forum and by email.
And this is Talia. I'll also note that this is noted in the rules that applicants are encouraged to consult with their own legal counsel regarding charitable purpose requirements.
Great. Next question. Regarding the prohibited use of funds, one of the items is aggregation of philanthropic capital by organizations that re-grant to nonprofit organizations. So the question is it expected that awardees are to carry out the work entirely by their organizations, or is it permissible to provide support to third-party nonprofits or groups to deliver services locally? Also, is it okay for awardees to secure funding from other groups to increase the impact of projects?
I can take this one. So funds may be subgranted from an applicant to implement the proposed solution, but not for general funds used for broader purposes. So you can not use the funds to set up your own foundation or venture firm, but you can subgrant to a different organization to implement the proposed solution. And yes, it is okay to secure funding from other groups to increase the impact of your project. There's also a place in the application where if your project is more than $20 million, you can give us a quick explanation or description of how you plan to secure the additional funding.
Next question. Are you looking for projects that have documented proof of concept through data and evaluation, or will you consider innovative ideas that are not yet proven in implementation?
I can take this one. Early to mid-stage ideas are absolutely welcome for this competition. Innovative ideas will definitely be considered. You do not necessarily have to have existing data to back up your idea.
Great, next question. We are helping severely disadvantaged Indigenous populations in a country that persecutes human rights defenders. We therefore prefer not to disclose people working in the country in the application. We plan to list only those working from a neighboring country. Would that place our proposal at a disadvantage?
Great question. We, of course, would not want you to disclose information that you are not comfortable disclosing. And also, please note that your application will be shared with at least 5 other organizations in peer-to-peer review, and then with an external evaluation panel. So the information is not confidential. We just ask that you do the best job describing your project in the way that feels most comfortable to you.
Next question, can you describe what kinds of activities are prohibited as propaganda or other attempts to influence legislation? For example, if changes to public policies or legislation would be part of the solution, such as criminal justice reform, what is an allowed activity to drive that change?
Great question. So certain public policy initiatives are allowed, but lobbying is not allowed. So we have a separate page on the website that explains our lobbying policy, and I encourage you to look at that for a list of allowable activities. And let us know if you have any specific questions.
Next question. Given the historical harm and resource appropriation that has built many institutions of higher education, will there be any intentional focus or consideration for funding
for funding community-based organizations with BIPOC leadership as the project lead?
Yes, one of our 4 scoring criteria is all about equity, and we really want to make sure that the impacted communities are in decision-making positions. They are taking the lead on defining success. This is a very important part of the design of Racial Equity 2030.
Next question. I am aware that children are an important demographic for the Kellogg Foundation. Several questions. A, what age bracket falls within your definition of children? B, will the foundation give preference to proposals that target or include children as key beneficiaries? With the Kellogg Foundation's focus on children, does the project need to include children in the direct impact population?
Great question. So while proposed solutions are not expected to improve the lives of children exclusively, it is our hope that awarded solutions result in long-term impact with the potential to benefit generations to come. So please review our bold and other traits in the scoring rubric for more information on what makes a strong proposal. And we can get back to you on how the W.K. Kellogg Foundation defines children and the age range.
Next question. Can a fiscally sponsored organization serve as a lead applicant with a 501c3 partner?
Yes, if you are an organization that has a fiscal sponsor, your application should be submitted by the fiscal sponsor since they will be the ones taking in and managing the grant. However, please note there's ample space in the application, particularly in the Why This Team section, to fully explain the relationship between your entity and the sponsor. So it's fine if the bulk of your application focuses on your organization's work and makeup as opposed to the fiscal sponsors, but just clarify that somewhere in your application.
Next question. Can you please talk more about what capacity building support consists of?
Yeah, so this is really time and space for your team to work with our team at Lever for Change and others to test your assumptions, better understand your strategy and plans for scaling, and really build your organizational capacity to implement your solution and absorb a large grant funds.
Next question. What do you expect when you say that the ideas must be led by a team that centers on lived experience and includes communities closest to the issues as part of the leadership?
This is Talia.
So lived experience, go ahead, Talia.
Sorry. This is Talia. So lived experience is referring to team members' background and understanding of the problem that you're trying to address. So the ask is that the team includes individuals with firsthand knowledge of the problem and whose personal experience as a member of the affected community is considered expertise in designing the proposed solution.
Next
I also
question.
want to add one thing about the children question. So the Kellogg Foundation defines children as ages 0 through 8, but this challenge is not age specific. Sorry, Jenny.
Great. Next question. Where can I find more information about racial equity and racial curation?
You can check out the FAQs on the website, have more information about what the W.K. Kellogg Foundation defines as racial equity.
Next question. If you are planning to have sub-awards to implementation partners, do you have to have them already identified and submit MOUs, or can you note that you'll be working on partnerships in the planning year?
This is Talia. So the application notes that if your team consists of 2 or more organizations that are seeking to collaborate, You may need to provide an executed MOU or other legal agreement that clearly outlines the relationship should you be named a finalist. So you do not need to submit an MOU at this stage of the challenge. And I'll also note that there is a full page on the website. If you go to the application page, you'll see a link to guidance for memorandum of understanding, which provides more information about that.
Next question. Is there any role where WKKF might work in a matching making capacity? That is, if submissions score quite high on certain parts of the rubric but not others, that there could be some facilitation bringing them together.
That's a great idea and something that we should definitely consider. I will say that the applicant portal has a message board function and that you are welcome to look for matches to your projects before, during, or after you submit your proposal. And we really encourage you to use that to meet other applicants. And if you are matched with someone in peer-to-peer review and you find their work compelling, we encourage you to reach out to them.
Next question. Can the proposed project be implemented in several countries?
Yes, we do not have a geographic, you can work across one country or several countries, but you should look at the scoring rubric and make sure your project aligns with those criteria.
Next question. I registered. Can you repeat how I know if it went through?
Yes, so you will, if you register, again, there is no email confirmation, but if you go on the website and then click again on that page that says either log in if you've already registered or the tick mark down to the number of days left to register. If you click on that and enter the email address you used to register, you will have access to the back end forums as well as the live application. That is how you know that you have successfully registered, is if you can see those applicant forums. Just waiting to see if they'll get pulled up on the screen here. You can see what it looks like. But yeah, so essentially, if you have access to the forums, that means that you have successfully registered. And there you go. So on the screen right now, you can see what that back end looks like.
Great, thank you. Next question. Could funds secured from another donor or organization be applied to one of non-allowed categories, such as student scholarships?
Yes, the rules just apply to how the grant funds from W.K. Kellogg Foundation could be used in regards to this project. But again, everything in your application should be for a proposal for these grant funds. So if you have student scholarships as part of your project and you mention it in the proposal, please just be really explicit about the funds from this project will not be applied to that, so we don't unfairly kick you out for not following the rules.
Great. Next question is also about use of funds. In the prohibited use of award funds, I see that funds may not be used for any individual for travel, study, or other similar purposes. What about internship or apprentice positions?
I can take this one. So fellowships and stipends are allowed. So granted that the funds are structured in that way, you are able to use them for those purposes.
Next question. Innovation implies not having a solution, but an idea or ideas to test. Will Ideas for Change be funded, or is WKKF really looking for solutions from the get-go versus innovation ideas that are unknown in its impact?
So we are definitely looking for bold, imaginative ideas and innovative ideas. However, we are also looking for ideas that can be actionable. So that does not necessarily mean that they've already been tested or have evidence, but in your application, you should show how you will get to that point that they can be actionable in the near term
whether that's who you are partnering with, how you will test them, how realistic they are. So yes, we are looking for innovative, bold ideas, but we are also looking for them to be actionable.
Great, we have about 5 minutes left in the webinar, so we'll get through a couple more questions here. How big does the lever have to be? For example, if our idea focuses on state-level change that can serve as an example throughout the country, is that significant enough as a lever?
Yes, again, we are looking for you to define the scope of impact for your project, and it could be game-changing and transformative for that policy or process or community that you define.
Great. Next question. Do we have to have identified a formal research and evaluation team or partner?
You do not have to have identified your formal research and evaluation team and partner, but I believe in the budget section, we do want to see that you've allocated some funds for research and evaluation of your project.
Next question is asking for some clarity. I believe what we described at the beginning, if we could just walk through how the finalists will receive money and kind of what the breakdown is of the different award amounts for different levels.
Great. So in the application, you are submitting a proposal for a 10-year, $20 million project. 10 finalists will be selected, and each of them will receive $1 million and participate in a capacity building period over 9 months. At the end of those 9 months, 5 awardees will be selected, and 3 of them will get $20 million, and 2 will get $10 million to implement their proposed idea. And we expect the proposed idea to shift as they work through that capacity building period.
Okay, next question. With regard to salaries, is there any limit on how much of the funding is allowed to be spent on this budget line?
So we do have a page about indirect policy on our website, and that gives some guidance around salaries and other line items and how you might want to implement those in your budget and if there's any caps on those. So I encourage you to check out that page on the website.
And this is Talia. You can access that page by going to the application page, and you'll find a link there to the indirect cost policy.
And I think that is all the time we have for questions. Talia and/or Jenna, if you'd like to go ahead and discuss next steps.
Yes, thank you, Jenny, and thank you to everyone. We got through as many questions as we could. So if you have more after today's session, you can reach us at questions@racialequity2030.org. A few reminders, if you have not done so already, please complete the organizational readiness tool. And if you find you are a strong fit, please register no later than Thursday, January 28th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time in order to be eligible to submit an application. Recordings and transcripts of this webinar will be available to registrants via email, and we will also post them on the news and updates page of racialequity2030.org. Thanks so much again for joining us. We very much look forward to learning about your efforts. And now I'll quickly hand things back to Jenna at Lever for Change for some closing remarks.
Thanks, Talia. To reiterate everything Talia just said, thank you so much for joining today's webinar. We are really looking forward to seeing your applications and appreciate all the time you spent with us today, as well as your work on your proposals. So stay well and have a great day. And thank you for joining us. Bye.